Haunted Mansion is generally a disappointment. I'm not going to say this is the worst film I've ever seen because it isn't, and there are a few good moments, but generally speaking, I found this to be quite a bad film. Not just boring, but actually pretty bad, with a few specific examples that I can give. This will be spoiler free for the most part, but I might mention the bits that I liked. And if I do, well, I will mention the bits that I liked, but I'll do that with a spoiler warning, um, because at least one of them is quite a big spoiler. This was released this year, of course, in 2023, directed by Justin Simien, written by Katie Dippold. And what's great for me is that I was kind of coming at this fresh, because while I've seen the previous Haunted Mansion and really enjoyed it, it's been so long since I last saw it that I can't really remember the specifics, so I wasn't comparing it. And had I been comparing it, I think that would have been acceptable because you can't recreate a film without expecting comparisons. But the point being there is that it's not just a case that I didn't like it because I preferred the other one. I actually can't compare it very well because I can't remember the other one too much. But if you do have any comparisons or if you prefer one over the other, please feel free to let me know. The narrative is very, very simple. It's about a haunted mansion. But actually, it's also about grief. And I want to give it credit. I think it handled the subject of grief very well without making it too depressing. It's not, for a film that's addressing grief, it could have been a lot more emotional. And I feel like they managed to get the balance right of tugging at those emotions when it was necessary, but without kind of dragging the mood down, if you like. Because it is, for the most part, a relatively light film, and there are a couple of moments. Well, there was one moment that I thought was funny, nothing else, to be honest, but I can see they tried. And the thing that didn't work for me for the most part, well, there are a couple of things. The first thing is the pacing. If it wasn't for the fact that it's a Disney film and I always want to watch everything Disney does just to say I've seen it, I might have given up because I think it got to about 40 minutes in and then something kind of interesting happened, or at least something happened. But yeah, up until that point, it was slow, it was boring. I was thinking, how can I continue with this? It is so horrendous. And it's not the acting, and it's not even the characters. I mean, the characters are not that interesting, to be perfectly honest, but that's not why. It just dragged itself so much. And the other reason it didn't work pretty much all of the way through is that the lighting is appalling. Now, there are times when the light needs to be quite dim, when we have kind of more spiritual scenes, that works really well. But there are so many scenes where the lights are just so dimly lit that I can't see any of the details and there's no need for it. And it's kind of like, I don't know, they were trying to keep the electricity bill down or something and turn all the lights out. It's just not necessary. And in fact, when you have dim lighting for the majority of the film, it means that when you get a scene that actually benefits from darker lighting, it's less effective because that's what you had for most of the film. And I feel like they tried to make it atmospheric in places where it shouldn't have been. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have been so much of a problem if I was, watching this in the cinema on a big screen, but watching it on my laptop on Disney Plus, it just it was just really uncomfortable and I felt like I was straining to watch a lot of it. And I just think, turn the lights up a little bit. Let us see some of the details. You don't need the whole thing to be in darkness. There are a couple of scenes, and actually one my favourite scene, the one scene that I genuinely enjoyed, was very well lit. And I just feel like they didn't get that balance right at all. With regards to the special effects, the ghosts, the apparitions, the spirits, whatever you want to call them, they looked awesome. As I said, I will give it credit where I can. The effects there were very good. Few and far between, to be perfectly honest, but still very good. And I think it had the perfect balance of being scary enough that younger children might be quite intimidated by it, but not so terrifying that it's unwatchable for younger viewers. It's rated 12A according to IMDb. And I feel like that's a pretty fair rating. It's not horrifically scary, but yeah, if you've got a nervous disposition, then I think they did a good job at bringing a little bit of scariness here and there, and the music as well. The music was pretty good. So All things considered, there were some good points, but it failed with the pacing of the narrative. And to be honest, even once the narrative picked up a bit, it still wasn't very interesting, but it did get better. The handling of grief and the balance of emotions, the lighting and special effects in certain places, but they also did the lighting pretty terribly for a lot of it. It's nowhere near as funny as it could have been, but there were a couple of moments. And the acting and the cast were very good. We have Jamie Lee Curtis, Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito. One of my favourite bits, actually, it's very brief, and it involves Danny DeVito in a chair. And you'll know which bit I mean. And it was so brief, but I really enjoyed that part of it. It's not a good film. It really isn't. I feel like it could have, maybe if we'd removed about 40 minutes of it, not necessarily the whole of the first 40 minutes, but most of the first 40 minutes, a little bit from here and there, and made the narrative a little bit tighter, it could have been okay. If we'd turned the house lights on a bit every now and then so that I wasn't straining to see things, and then that would also make the darker scenes more powerful, that could have been more effective. The music was good, the acting was good, the set designs looked beautiful, which is part of the problem. I wanted to see them in more detail and get a good sense of the space. They were quite large spaces, but it's hard to get that sense of foreboding when you can't really see anything. So I feel like they just completely did not get that right at all. Again, as I said, maybe it would be different watching it on the big screen, but I feel like the majority of people over time will end up watching this on Disney Plus or, a TV or whatever. So you can't just create something just for a cinema audience. Would I recommend it? Well, if you're a Disney fan, yes, just to say you've seen it. If you're a fan of the previous one, yes, see what the differences are, see which one your favourite is. I'd love to know how you compare them. But if you have no connection to Disney or the other film, or you've got no interest in this, you've never heard of it, I wouldn't say you need to watch Haunted Mansion. It's just not a good film. It has its moments, but generally speaking, I didn't enjoy that much of it, and I wouldn't be watching it again. I will, however, tell you the bit that I did like, and I genuinely thought it was well written. The delivery of the lines was brilliant, and it was also a very brightly lit scene because it didn't need to be dimly lit, and I didn't feel like I was straining. So this is a spoiler. I won't go into too much detail, but you'll know which scene I mean when I mention it. So a bit of a spoiler from now. It's the scene when they visit the home and they're trying to find an object that belongs to the ghost. And they keep asking the tour guide, did that object belong to them? Did that object belong to them? And it was just, it just made me laugh. I don't know exactly why, but I just found a lot of it to be quite dry humour, and it worked really well. And I'd say that's the only bit that was genuinely funny. Also the bit when Danny DeVito's character was in the hospital after the chair instance, and I think it was the nurse asked why was he even in the chair in the middle of the road, and they just replied something to the effect of that's what he likes to do. So that was quite good. But other than that, there wasn't really anything specific that I thought worked well, that I thought was funny or entertaining. As I said, a few of the bits about grief were well done, so I have to give it credit for that. But generally speaking, Haunted Mansion is not a great film. I doubt I'd ever watch it again. I recommend it in some circumstances, but if you decide not to watch it, I don't think you'll be missing out on very much at all.